Welcome to the Not So Different podcast. This is the space where we explore whether the people we discuss may be understood today as neurodivergent, not to diagnose, but to challenge assumption and dismantle myths. We want to show that being neurodivergent simply makes us not so different. We begin each episode with a guessing game. I will give you 3 clues and you will try to guess who are we talking about today. Ready? Clue number 1. He was born in Serbia, raised in Croatia, and lived most of his life in the United States. Clue number 2. Belgrade Airport is named after him, and so is the modern car brand. Clue number 3. The fact that I can record this episode and you can listen to it anywhere is thanks to his inventions. Did you guess? Well done. Today's episode is about Nikola Tesla, and there is a lot to talk about. Tesla's IQ was said to be higher than Einstein's. He was often described as strange, eccentric, or even alien-like. His inventions were so advanced that some people saw them as a result of black magic. History remembers Tesla as a forgotten genius, sometimes called the greatest inventor of all. But who was this man? A mind claimed to reach an IQ of 230, yet someone who struggled deeply with social interactions. And what makes him not so different? To understand all that, today's episode begins with a journey to the 19th century Serbia, a period called the Century of Progress, marked by the rise of steam power and electricity. This era replaced horse-drawn travels and carrier pigeons with technologies that transformed daily life. Within just a few decades, humanity became familiar with electricity, steam, trains, cinema, and telephones, inventions that reshaped the world and laid the foundation of industrialization as we know it today. For example, static electricity has been observed since ancient times, but it was during the Enlightenment scientists began to search for ways to create a continuous flow of electric power. It was here that Alessandro Volta, an Italian physicist, published his design for the first device capable of sustaining a constant electrical supply. Later, English scientist Humphrey Davy expanded on Volta's work and created first chemical battery. Today, it is almost impossible to imagine life without these inventions. Rooms 3327 and 3328 in the New Yorker Hotel in Manhattan are visited by thousands of tourists every year, as these were the rooms where Tesla spent his final years, developing some of his iconic and still mysterious ideas. After Tesla's death on the 7th of January 1943, FBI agents attempted to secure his papers, but when his safe was opened, it was empty. Tesla had 112 patents to his name. They transformed the technological progress of the 20th century, and they indeed laid the foundations for modern power systems like wireless communication. But the inventions that captured public imagination the most were his theories on weather control device and the idea of free global electricity. As his more visionary projects failed to gain support, his public image suffered. By the end of his life, the same mind that once captivated the audience was too often dismissed as strange, unstable, or delusional. Now, let me ask you something. Would you believe if someone told you that they had experienced time travel? Well, in 1919, in the magazine Electrical Experimenter, Nikola Tesla described exactly that. He called them his time travel expeditions. In his own words, he wrote, "I met people there. They are my friends. I saw the future of humanity. I found solutions. It's a striking statement, don't you think? And even more intriguing when you realize Tesla claimed to have these experiences from an early childhood. He described sudden flashes of a bright light that felt like they lifted him out of his own body and dropped him into futuristic scenes. These episodes often came at night, when the house finally fell silent and his mind was free to wander without any interruptions. And remember, Tesla famously said he could live on just 3 hours of sleep. Something many neurodivergent people will understand all too well. When your brain refuses to switch off, because it's busy creating, analyzing, imagining, and of course ruminating, sleep feels like a waste of time. So what were these time travels expeditions? Were they visions, vivid imagination, trauma responses, or something else entirely? We don't know, that's the truth. Over the years, psychiatrists and psychologists have speculated about epilepsy, autism, schizophrenia, or unresolved trauma from the death of his brother, but no conclusion has ever been reached. What is clear is the lasting influence of his mother, Duka Mandic. Duka was a constant presence in his life, a self-taught inventor of household tools and mechanical devices. She was a creator of labor-saving gadgets and a woman with extraordinary memory. Although she had no formal education, she could recite long Serbian epic poems, recall complex patterns and recipes, and perform mental calculation. And please do remember, Duka was illiterate. She did not learn to read or write, which was common, unfortunately, for women in the region at that time. Tesla often said that had she been born in another era, she would have been a great scientist, an engineer, or inventor. Nikola's father, Milutin Tesla, was a Serbian Orthodox priest, strict but fair, intellectually curious, and gifted storyteller. Milutin was adamant that Nikola should follow him into the priesthood and would not be persuaded otherwise. The Tesla family had 5 children: Dan, the oldest, Milka, Nikola, Angelina, and Marika. Dan, the eldest son, was considered exceptionally gifted, perhaps even more so than Nikola. His death at the age of 12 or 14, as accounts vary here, had lifelong consequences for the entire family. Some sources claimed he died after being kicked or thrown by a family horse. Others says he fell from a staircase. Nikola was 7 at that time. And after Dan's death, Nikola's parents became overprotective of him. They tried to fill the void left by the older son and would sometimes even call Nikola by Dan's name. This created enormous pressure and a permanent sense that he wasn't quite measuring up to the expectations. And maybe because of that, Tesla felt even stronger urge to invent and create. He often risked his own life and health. So I've read A Master of Lightning, Tesla's biography. I came across a detail that made me wonder whether the man was secretly made of rubber. Over the course of his life, he had around 47 accidents. Yes, 47. Broken bones, head injuries, you name it. At this point, it's less of a biography and more of medical season recap. One childhood story shows both Tesla's imagination and risk-taking tendencies. On a windy day, young Tesla opened an umbrella outside the house, and the wind lifted it just enough to make him feel weightless. Tesla, convinced he could fly, quickly climbed onto the roof of the family barn and jumped, still holding the umbrella. Of course, the umbrella broke instantly, and Nikola was knocked unconscious. His mother found him on the ground and, thinking he was dead, rushed him to the doctor. When Nikola woke up, his father said, "Son, what happened? Who pushed you?" Nikola looked at him and said, "No one pushed me. I jumped. Next time, I need to reinforce the umbrella metal frame so it can help me to fly." Now, after these words, his father, normally a gentle man, later admitted he came so close to punishing him. And of course, Tesla was only 5 at that time, and such risk-taking fits with typical children development. But it also hints at the kind of intense, literal, inventive thinking we would later see in his adult life. In the primary school, Tesla learned to read and write, but it was mechanics that fascinated him. He took apart clocks and watches just to see how they work. One of his earliest inventions was a small device powered by, listen to that, grasshoppers. He glued them into a wheel, hoping the jumping motions would drive the mechanism. It didn't last long, of course, but it showed a mind already experimenting with ways to convert biological energy into mechanical force. During his late teenage years, Tesla became seriously ill. Some sources mention malaria. Others suggest that moving from a rural environment to city life affected his health. Doctors considered his condition critical at one point. Tesla, even then, found a way to negotiate. He said to his father, "If I recover, will you let me study engineering instead of becoming a priest?" Worried for his son, Milutin agreed, and Nikola recovered within 4 months. Tesla then began his studies at the Graz University of Technology in Austria, where he became fascinated by the new invention, Gram dynamo. But unfortunately, financial difficulties grew, and Tesla turned to gambling to manage his expenses. He quickly became addicted. He lost most of his allowance, fell behind on his rent, skipped lectures, and eventually gambled away money meant for the tuition and books. So he left university in 1878. When Milutin learned about the gambling debts, he was devastated. He blamed Tesla's engineering ambitions and feared he had lost yet another son. But in a dramatic twist, Tesla won back all the money he had lost and brought it to his family. His father refused to take it, and he told him, "You may take this, but I expect you to settle down and finish your studies." The word hazard, meaning risk, originally referred to gambling and comes from an Arabic word, awazar, meaning chance or dice. And for Tesla, the unpredictable logic of dice seemed irresistible. He soon lost everything again, until his mother, Duca, confronted him with the entire family saving and said, "Here, Nikola, take it, lose it all. The sooner you lose it, then better." And it was a wake-up call he needed. He never gambled again. Realizing that Europe offered limited opportunities for engineering, Tesla immigrated to the United States and worked alongside the famous inventor Thomas Edison. This was his American dream, and in many ways he achieved it, though his success was uneven, or complex, let's say. In America, Tesla demonstrated and patented radio principles, remote control, early robotic concept, of course Tesla coil, and radar-like ideas. But he struggled financially, as Tesla was not a businessman. For him, invention was the reward. He gave away patents cheaply, failed to protect his ideas, and many of his later projects, like the Wardenclyffe Tower, collapsed due to lack of funding. Tesla died in New York in 1943, poor and relatively forgotten. Now, I would like to introduce Tesla not just as a great inventor, but through a neurodiverse perspective. Tesla struggled with social interaction throughout his life. He found small talks exhausting. He preferred solitude and often felt misunderstood by colleagues who could not relate to his intensity. To understand Nikola Tesla, you have to understand sensory intensity. That secret, invisible universe many neurodivergent people live in. For some, a sound isn't just a sound, it's a whole landscape. A texture isn't just something you touch, it's a full body event. What feels like a background noise to one person can feel like an alarm bell to another. And sensory experience come in high definition surround sound. And Tesla? He was no different. In his world, sensation didn't just arrive, they crushed in a full volume. He had extreme sensory sensitivities. Loud noises, repetitive sounds, and sudden vibration caused him physical pain. He wrote that he could hear thunderstorms more than 200 miles away, and ticking of a clock 2 floors above his laboratory triggered migraines. Tesla had extraordinary auditory sensitivity, and these shaped how he worked with electrical frequencies. His remarkable ability to detect and distinguish subtle frequencies played a pivotal role in experiments, especially the experiments on the wireless transmission and radio technology. His heightened auditory perception helped him understand the behavior of frequency, resonance, and vibration. And this aligns with Tesla's own description of hearing exceptionally faint sounds and experiencing vibration intensively. So why this matters? And the honest answer is I do not know, as I'm not an engineer, but I have Googled it for us, and apparently in radio and high-frequency electrical engineering, success depends on two things: detecting very subtle differences in pitch, frequency, and resonance, as well as identifying when two systems are tuned in. So if you ask me, Tesla's neurological wiring made him biologically equipped for this job. His auditory and sensory system acted like a built-in diagnostic tool, allowing him to sense difficulties that others may have need instruments to detect. Tesla also experienced a deep sensitivities around touch. And to explain what that felt for him, you need to meet Auntie Vera. He described her as a middle-aged woman with 2 front teeth that stuck out slightly, and Auntie Vera loved to greet him with big, enthusiastic kisses. And for most children, that might be sweet or middle embarrassing if you're a teenager. But for Nikola, it was a torture. The closeness of someone else's breath, the sensation of another person's mouth on his skin, was overwhelming. And it wasn't about rudeness or rejection. It was simply sensory overload. And I think this is an important moment to highlight something many people don't realize. It is perfectly okay to ask, "Can I shake your hand?" without assuming that shaking hand is acceptable by everyone. Or, "Is it alright if I kiss you on the cheek?" Touch, even well-intentioned touch, doesn't feel the same for everyone, and especially neurodivergent people. But responsibility goes both ways. As a neurodivergent people, we can help our friends by letting them know what feels uncomfortable. A handshake may feel like torture. A hug may be too much. And that's okay. When we communicate our needs, the people who care about us can help create interaction that feels safe and comfortable for everyone. Nikola Tesla also had a strong aversion to textures. He was known to gag, even in public, when he saw dangling earrings in someone's ears. And he really didn't like human hair. He once said, "I could never, ever touch another person's hair. Even a single strand near me would make me feel deeply uncomfortable." In the end, Nikola Tesla remains one of the history's most extraordinary inventors. Yet, behind his brilliance was a man navigating a sensory world that often overwhelmed him. Through a neurodiversity-informed perspective, we can see that his heightened perception and unusual thinking styles were not flaws, but part of the architecture of his genius. He lived in a world of sound and shimmering sensation that was never built for him. So he created out a quieter world of his own, a place where numbers behaved, where ideas lined up obediently, where the chaos of life could finally be translated into symmetry, pattern, and light. As Tesla himself once said, "About my enemies, they live in presence. The present is theirs. The future, for which I really worked, is mine." And in that private refuge, he transformed discomfort into innovations, solitude into creativity, and difference into legacy that did not stay in laboratory. It crackled outwards through radio waves, electric currents, and the very language of modern technology, illuminating the world long after his own light dimmed. A man shaped by sensation, who reshaped the world in return. Not less, just not so different. Thank you very much for being with us. And I'll see you here next time.